I was very frustrated. It asked me. Meetings.
Good evening. For those who are guests, welcome to Holy Spirit Parish. So honored that you are here as well. Our theme this Lent is Jesus led by the Spirit of love. And we are following him who is led by the Spirit. We are following the Spirit. Pope Francis says the way to do that, the way to hear the Spirit speaking, is get out of your comfort zone, encounter the stranger, and with an open heart, listen. And in that encounter and listening, you will be changed. He feels that the Catholic Church needs to open its heart to the Spirit as it speaks through the marginalized, the poor, the forgotten of this world. Well, oddly, one of the most marginalized, poor, forgotten people in the world is your soul. We have so marginalized our own hearts. We've grown deaf to the Spirit speaking right there. We're so tuned to the outer world and to the science and the mind and all of those things that if we want to hear the Spirit speak, we have to encounter and listen and be changed by the Spirit speaking from the depths of our own soul. We are so blessed to have somebody who knows the human soul very well. Dr. Richard Stevens is a brain and behavioral scientist and a UW Green Bay Emeritus Professor of Human Biology. He's authored a number of books on biology. He's taught medical science courses over 30 years, initiated a course on science and religion. He has spoken to professional communities and community audiences like this one in the United States, in London, Cambridge, Oxford, and in Rome. And you're wondering how we could possibly get him to come to Stevens Point. Well, the reason is sitting right there, his daughter Natasha, favorite grandson Sam Enders in our midst. Would you please join me in welcoming Dr. Richard Stevens?
Thank you and welcome. And over the years, I've done some talks for UW Stevens Point. Yep. Whoops. How we doing? Is that better? Okay, I've done a number of talks back when, in the old days for UW Stevens Point, Newman Center, and you probably don't recognize me, but we've been church members for 2 years online. So we're going to be talking about dreams and dream interpretation as a way of understanding ourselves, what's going on, and as a way of growing. I think all the, whoops, what happened? Oh, there we go. The credentials are just to let you know you're getting your money's worth. My name is Rick, that will do. And what we're going to do over the 4 courses, and incidentally, I get to sit down this time. This is one of the few times in 50 years of teaching I get to sit. One time I got it to sit because I tore out my Achilles tendon, and one of the students said that was the coolest thing about the class. So okay, we're gonna, in overview, look at dreams. We'll look at examples from the Bible and literature, and we'll be making the case that dreams can be important in our lives, can be meaningful. We'll give you a list of different types of dreams. That'll help a lot in terms of understanding what we've experienced. We'll talk a little bit about Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, who were some of the first to study dreams, and who introduced the idea of we have a subconscious, something below where we're at when we're thinking. There's something underneath there too. And something about our spirit and the subconscious relate to each other in terms of our inner life. For dream analysis, we need to know symbols, how to interpret symbols, because the dreams seem to talk to us in stories and with symbols, and we'll give examples of that. We'll give some rules for interpreting dreams, and we'll give you lots of examples of real dreams I've gathered from participants in my classes over the years. And we'll make the case, if you haven't had the experience yourself, that some dreams are so vivid you remember them like they were yesterday, even though it's been years, okay? So we're making the case that dreams, some not all, are meaningful, that some dreams are telling us something important, that dreams are not evil, they can deepen our spirituality, and that the human subconscious is real. All those things that I, as a physics major, didn't believe any of that. I mean, equations and hard matter was reality to me until I got into some of the psychology. And so dreams we'll look at as a way for self-discovery and spiritual growth. How many of you remember some of your dreams? Okay. How many of you don't remember dreams? Confess. Okay, all right. That's a start. And we're not being a wise guy here. We're doing psychology. How do you know what's inside a person unless you ask them? Don't let your hormones get up. But it's like when you're voting, they don't have to ask, what did you vote for? They got it all tallied. What they ask is, why did you vote that way? What's inside? What's the thinking process? So we'll look at dreams with regard to that. How many dream in color? Whoa, 30% maybe. I don't think I do. I think I'm deprived somehow. How many think dreams are kind of scrambled and hodgepodge? Betrayed in my own family. Okay, I'll go home now. How many wonder whether some of your dreams have any meaning? Yeah, okay. Let's see if we can help with that tonight, and in the 4 classes. Carl Jung was one of the most spiritual of all the great psychiatrists, and he helped make huge contributions to understanding human psyche and brain. And I'm not promoting him, I'm just saying this is where we get some of our information. And he said, the dream is a little hidden door in the innermost secret recesses of our soul or our psyche. These are all kinds of things that some people report show up in their dream. What does it mean? And Carl Jung also said dreams are the language of the subconscious. We're not so aware of the subconscious, or it wouldn't be subconscious, would it? So it seeps out sometimes in dreams. Types of dreams, to get us some categories. Freud was more of a biologist, more of an atheist, and his interpretations of dreams were more instinctual, some of that animal stuff in us coming out. So wish fulfillment, you know, you really wanted to bash the guy or the gal, but you didn't, but in your dreams you might. So fulfilling some wishes, some libido coming out in dreams, aggression, fear of death. Freud was big on people's dreams having to do with fear of death. He probably overdid that and thus didn't interpret dreams as fully as Carl Jung did. On the other hand, says another psychiatrist, humans are the only people, only animals that know we're gonna die. Don't look at me so closely. Okay, Richard Sweeney has some good audio tapes on dreams, and some of that deep inside us in a Freudian way comes out with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The good Dr. Jekyll trying to explore the deep inner inhibitions he's got. And it doesn't come out right, but it shows that he and Freud, Stevenson and Freud are thinking along similar lines. So Freud would say dreams fulfill unmet urges, emotional needs, express some of our current issues, what's going on, and we're not quite clearly seeing it, but it might come up in dreams. And dreams might express our childhood conflicts, some of the not great stuff. Dreams are a way of acting out our feelings, our urges, stuff we can't do in society. That's Freud. It doesn't sound very Christian, but it might have some value to it. Carl Jung, on the other hand, believes a broader view of dreams, that dreams can integrate or pull together stuff in our lives and make a picture or a story that helps us figure it out. We'll look at some dreams like that. Some dreams are confirming. How many of you had a dream where it came out so great and you said, yeah, that was what? Anybody have those? Well, I got two people. The rest of you are really, yeah. Some dreams are alerting. Watch out, be careful. You haven't been paying attention. And it's not your consciousness saying, it's coming out of your subconscious. Things are getting rattled inside, and the subconscious gives us a story that alerts us, maybe corrects us. So alerting and correcting dreams, according to psychologists, those alerting and correcting dreams demand a response. We should change something. We'll see examples of that. Okay? And some dreams are just informing us of stuff that we maybe not have been thinking about. So with Jungian thinking, dreams can be wonderful and affirming and can support our self-worth. They also can reveal to us stuff we need to know. Other views of dreams, dreams are prophetic. Some people think dreams can tell them the future. I won't get into that. You can talk to Father Steve and yeah, thanks, right. And besides, it uses the word prophetic in a way that I don't use it. Many people think prophetic is telling the future. I think prophetic means telling the truth. Someone speaking the truth about us or our society. Some dreams people think are anxiety release. They might be chaotic type dreams. We've got tensions and they're coming out in the dreams. Some dreams could be problem solving. I've been working on this for a long time, and I get this idea in a dream. And it might be real and it might be helpful. Some people think dreams might be a spirit connection, i.e., I can talk through a dream with someone who's deceased. And I won't be touching that one either, okay? And some people, probably engineering type, thinks some dreams are just checking out its circuitry, little beep, 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 and whatever. Okay, all these types, I think, are partly or possibly true. For example, anxiety dreams. This is Freudian now, before we go on to Jung. I've had a dream often, and it's in the same kind of mode. I'm supposed to be in class. You wonder, do you have these? Oh, see, now, Jung thinks some symbols in dreams are universal across all sorts of cultures and peoples, no matter of race or location. Dreams about teaching? Yeah, have any where you lost your lecture notes, can't find your classroom? Okay, at any rate, I've had that, or I show up and someone else took my classroom, or I forgot I'm teaching a class and I don't remember till 2 weeks later. That's called the impossible dream. There's no getting out of 2 weeks behind. Okay, so I'm thinking, yeah, I talked to my wife, Mary, and she says, well, something's stressing you, and that's a professor's way of it coming out, Mechanic's way might be the wheels fall off. Any rate, so we have this retired faculty breakfast, UWGB retired faculty and staff, and we're having great conversation. And someone says, I had the strangest dream. I had to go to class and couldn't find my notes. Light bulbs go on, I'm starting to take notes. Another professor says, I couldn't find my classroom. I had a couple of dreams like that. Another said, I got the wrong classroom, or I got the right classroom, but I had the wrong lecture notes. I got notes on the heart, and I'm supposed to be teaching on the brain, okay? Or I forgot the class and arrived 45 minutes late, super embarrassing. Anxiety dreams. And the dream, if you take it literally, is nonsense because they're not teaching anymore. They're not at the university anymore. But if you ask, what's the symbolic meaning? What is being expressed as these professor stresses, but are in your daily life today? Okay, worry about this, should have done that. It'll come out symbolically for different people in different ways. The mechanic, the engine falls out. The professor, the notes are lost. And the priest forgets to come to Sunday Mass. Those could be stressful dreams. Okay. But the note is, it's symbolic. Not having the lecture room or the classroom isn't important. It's what caused us to feel that way. Okay, so significant dreams, different than other chaotic or other dreams. Significant dreams are the subconscious making up a story for us of what's happening inside us. Okay, the story is coming to the classroom, but what's inside us is what we have to look for. And stories are really superhuman forms of communication. Okay, great religious teachers tell stories. Theologians make lists and give you factlets. Okay, but the great stories that make a difference. Okay, so let's do some of this. Taking it from the Bible, in case anyone thinks dreams are something evil or off track. And there are a number of good dreams in the Bible. In the Old Testament, Joseph has a dream. Joseph's the son of Jacob, who has 12 sons. He has 11 brothers. And Joseph is Jacob's favorite. And so he gives Joseph this wonderful colored cloak. Andrew Lloyd Webber has a wonderful musical on this called Joseph's Amazing Technicolor Dream Coat. Okay? And the brothers are so jealous of Joseph, they sell him into servitude in Egypt. Great story for the Bible. Okay. The Pharaoh has some strange dreams, and he's all... In Weber's play, the Pharaoh is played like a character like, Elvis. Yeah, Elvis Presley does, and he says, I'm all mixed up. But anyway, he heard that Joseph can interpret dreams. Important point. Some of the dreams we have, we really need someone else to help us to figure out. Okay, so Pharaoh explains to Joseph, I've been having these dreams. One dream is I saw 7 fat cows along the Nile. If you've been in Egypt, there ain't much else than along the Nile. Within a mile of each side is all you got, kind of, for growing stuff. So 7 fat, strong cows along the Nile, and then later came 7 cows, ugly, scrawny, and gaunt. What does it mean? What does it mean? Says the Pharaoh. And then the Pharaoh says, and on top of that, I had another dream. And I dreamt 7 ears of fat corn, luscious and healthy. And then after that came 7 ears of thin, scrawny corn that ate up the fat corn. What does it mean? I'm confused, says the great Pharaoh. And Joseph says, easy. It means we're going to have 7 years of bumper crops. Ooh, nothing to do with cows, but has to do with, and we'll follow that with 7 years of poor harvests. So we start building the storage buildings now. Okay. Interesting dream. Does it make sense? Something's being told there. Okay, so this is an alerting dream for the Pharaoh, and it's an informing dream, giving information. And telling the Pharaoh, you know, if you were smart, you wouldn't eat it all up like it's going on forever. Is there a moral there for the U.S. in terms of oil? And never mind. At any rate, you won't think it goes on forever. You better be storing some up for the future. Okay, that's Old Testament Joseph. New Testament Joseph is betrothed to a woman he finds out is pregnant out of wedlock, right? And he's espoused to her. And so this is a huge tragedy in Jewish society of the first century. And his church and his society tell him he has to put her away. And the not so nice parts of that say he should stone her, noting that they don't say stone the guy who might have had to do it, but that's another story. Okay, so he's got to put Mary away. Isn't that in the story? And Joseph has an angel appearing to him in a dream. Okay? In Jewish culture and Old Testament, an angel is a messenger from God, bringing some message, okay? In a dream, and he's told, do not put Mary away. And I'm thinking in terms of dream psychology, this is one powerful aha realization for Joseph, that to be compassionate is more important than some social and some religious rules. Compassion, more important. Whole New Testament speaks to something like that. So he has a compassionate insight as a result of a dream that informs him he could really hurt this woman. Okay? So he breaks the rules of society and of his religion and decides to marry Mary, take care of her, and prove that compassion is more important, in some cases, maybe many, than religious rules. And if you think I'm being a little heretical, you got to be careful, because that's what Jesus did 4 or 5 times, broke the religious rules, thou shalt not work on the Sabbath, to heal someone. And he took on the Pharisees and said, isn't it better to be compassionate, care, and heal than to follow rules? So, St. Peter has some dreams. Are we getting an idea dreams might be important once in a while? Yeah. So Peter and Paul are arguing about the Jewish religious rules of circumcision and food purity rituals. Don't you got to do it this way? Wash all the bowls, wash all you up to your elbow, wash, and at any rate, Paul, he's the apostle to the Gentiles. He's all around the Mediterranean Sea area converting pagans. That means they're not Jews. James, on the other hand, is centered in Jerusalem, certainly in Palestine. And Paul has a church that is not bound by religious rules, and conflicts begin with James's church, where James is insisting you got to be Jewish and do all these rules before we let you be Christian. It was such a big conflict that in Rome, one of the emperors wanted to outlaw Christians because they had so many arguments. It was these two different churches, okay? Okay. Which side should St. Peter be on? Aha, what would you do? Okay, so Peter's not so sure, but he's asleep on the roof and he has a dream. Or as they put it, an angel appears to him in a dream. And he had this dream not once, but 3 times. That's, in dream psychology, very significant. Repeated dream, recurrent dream. Hey, didn't you get it the first time? I'll tell you again. You still didn't get it. The dream comes back again, okay? And the dream is, angel says to Joseph, all animals, domestic and wild, are created by God and are not judged unclean. You may eat of these animals. Peter has a revelation that some things are more important than some religious rules. So his dream is an insight, awakening kind of dream, and a correction dream. Get on the right path, Peter, will you? Okay, so maybe you might be thinking dreams could be meaningful, maybe they're not evil, and maybe dreams might even help us grow spiritually. A few clues. There's dreams that appear in literature as well. And one of my favorite stories of all times is Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. And in the Christmas Carol, incidentally, there are 4 or 5 videos of this that are good. The one with Alistair Sims, black and white, one of the earliest, is one of the best. And George C. Scott has an excellent portrayal of Scrooge, as does Patrick Stewart. Videos you can see the Christmas Carol in. Okay, so we got Ebenezer Scrooge, successful businessman. And it's Christmas time, the season for charity and giving, and 2 guys come to Scrooge to ask for some alms for the poor, and they tell Scrooge the poor are in need mostly at this special time of giving. And Scrooge's reply is, are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses? My taxes pay for those things. Okay? Okay, that's Scrooge's response. Okay, so Scrooge, not a nice guy, cold-hearted, gets visited by 4 ghosts. Okay, here we test your imagination, I think. Are ghosts real? Do you believe in that? Literally, a little goofy ghosts. Or are the ghosts symbolic? Symbolize something. So literally, those 4 ghosts are nonsense. Scrooge had too much potatoes to eat, he would say. And so he's dreaming up nonsense. And it's very unscientific to say ghosts. But if it's symbolic, then those ghosts might be part of Scrooge's own self, something in his subconscious coming up to the consciousness to reveal something to him. So the ghosts are self-revelatory, maybe right out of his conscience. We've had those. Geez, I really maybe shouldn't do this. Or, oh gosh, I really wish I had done something better on that, right? Call it a ghost, but it's something revealing to us. So the first ghost is Jacob Marley, Scrooge's dead partner. Is he coming back from the dead, or is Scrooge subconscious making up a story? Marley's in chains, heavy weights dragging him. How many of you have seen the videos? Okay, well, if you didn't, you gotta. Okay. And the chains are forged by Marley's own greed and inhumanity. And he's gonna live this way or spirit this way for decades. And Scrooge says, geez, Marley, you were always a good man of business. Reminds me of the stores that pull the red buckets out of their stores because they disturb some customers. The Red Salvation Army, one of the best charitable groups around. It's only business, just the business. You were always a good man of business, says Scrooge. And Marley's ghost says, mankind was my business. common welfare of all people was my business, and I blew it, says Marley. As we say, some dreams are alerting and asking for change. And so what Marley's ghost says, I'm here for your reclamation, for your changing over. I think Charles Dickens beat out Freud and Jung by 40 years with this dream kind of interpretation. So this is definitely a correcting dream. Marley's ghost on the upper left. The ghost of Christmas past comes. And you don't know, I'm confused. Do those ghosts come once a night and there's 3 nights? Then how does he wake up still on Christmas morning? So easier to say he had 3 dreams in the same night. And the ghost of Christmas past reveals, some dreams reveal to us, that his childhood, his mother died. He was stuck with a cruel stepfather. That's true of Charles Dickens' real life. That happened to him. He's writing from experience. And so he has what we would call, Scrooge has a hurt inner child. Child not really loved when he should have been loved. And then this ghost of the past, or his dreams about the past, tell him about his love for his wonderful sister Fan, who was the only one in the family left to love him, and what joy he had with her. But she died in childbirth. Very common in those days. 1 in 10 women died in childbirth. Not a safe process in the 1800s, okay? So, in the story, when his nephew Fred comes in to say Merry Christmas to Scrooge in his workhouse, and Scrooge says, bah, humbug, leave me alone, it helps to know that Fred is the child that his beloved sister Fan gave birth to and died giving birth. Oh, there's some deep underlying hurt in there he's taking out on his nephew Fred. Merry Christmas, Uncle, says Fred. Of course, bah, humbug is there. In his youth, the spirit of Christmas past says, he's working happily under Mr. Fezziwig, who is a generous and kind employer. And working there is a lovely lady, Belle is her name, and the young Scrooge falls in love with Belle. So the spirit of Christmas past is now revealing a time of his life that was joyous, generous, and Christmas was wonderful. Memories called to the fore and challenging Scrooge. How come you aren't doing this now? Where has that gone? So this is affirming Scrooge's part of his past, that good part of his youth. And Belle was his fiancée, and Scrooge got more and more interested in the money and the business. And Belle comes up to him and says, do you remember, those who saw it? A new love has replaced me, Belle says to Scrooge. A golden idol. And you don't love me anymore. You love the gold, the money, and the business. What Scrooge does to the spirit of Christmas past, who is shining and shivering and bright, which means light, informing, sending out knowledge. He takes a cap. I can't turn that far. And he pulls the cap down over that shining spirit and puts the light out. I don't want to know this stuff. That's called repressing a memory, shoving it deep in the subconscious. We don't want to deal with that. So we got now Scrooge's dreams through the spirits are some of its affirmation that love, joy, and caring can take place if people care to, and a correction dream that Scrooge could live a better life if he lived with that joy. He's getting a direction toward wholeness, toward happiness. You got a good spouse, he or she'll be telling you this, right? Okay? And Scrooge being guided toward mental health. And we would say, through these dreams, revealing what the subconscious knows into the consciousness. The Spirit of Christmas Present has this gargantuan gown, and Scrooge says, "What's under the gown?" And he opens the gown, and there are two scrawny, starving kids. And the Spirit says, this child is ignorance. We are not educating some kids. This child is want, in needs. And we are not caring for that. So is that an alerting dream, an informing dream, and a call to spiritual and moral growth? Repressed memories lead to depression. I'm down all the time, I don't know why. But if you could get down a little further, you see, I'm still mad because my parents didn't care for me. I still feel terrible guilt because I had this clergyman who just laid it on me. I feel this, and it's coming out in the adult, okay? As depression, unhappiness, sometimes a self-centered person. I gotta protect myself because I never got protected when I was a kid, right? Guilt and anger. You'll have to forgive me on this, but this is part of my field, so I'm going to share it with you. Those two kids under the robe of Christmas present now, not just in the 1800s, reminds me that the United States has the worst record in health care of pregnant women and newborn babies. Out of 40-some developed nations, we're 33rd or 35th. And I had a neat physician colleague sitting right there. He was an obstetrician. He said, "That can't be. We give the best medical care in the world." Yeah? How can both be right? If you divide it by race, Black people have 3 times the death rate of mothers in childbirth, 3 times the death rate of babies in childbirth. Only 24% of U.S. children have health care. Other nations make it available for all their citizens. 30 million people until recently, adults did not have health care. I go in for this and that, and the bill looks atrocious, and I don't have to pay because I got health care. It's a blessing. Do we share that? Okay? And these rates have gotten better, less deaths of babies and mothers since the Affordable Health Care Act has helped people get insurance. Should I sit here and wait till someone says, "That can't be"? No, the Affordable Health Care Act specifically makes illegal the use of U.S. tax dollars for abortion. There is a myth and misinformation going around. Affordable Health Care Act forbids the use of tax dollars for abortions, and it's helping people, especially poor people. Also, it gives an escape clause for groups that don't support birth control, find it evil, and they can sign off that our faith statement is we don't, and so they don't have to work to pay insurance for birth control. So the two main criticisms of that act that's helping so many people, a pro-life issue, are incorrect. So what do we think of Scrooge's ghosts? real ghosts, spirity things out of comic books, or conceptualizing in his dreams, Scrooge realizing that from his own conscience or subconscious that he really has to improve. And then he's visited by the spirit of Christmas yet to come, who's this foggy, amorphous figure. And it took a while. I didn't like him. But then they figure out, probably with the help of my wife, who knows more of this than me, you don't know the future. No wonder it's amorphous. No wonder it has no shape, right? And the joke here is the spirit of Christmas to come is here for your dreams and your aspirations of your youth. And the guy says, you mean they're, and the spirit says, dead as a doornail. And what comes to mind with this for me is the biggest fear Scrooge would have meeting the spirit of the future is to die without having any meaning in his life. And that's the theme in many stories. I'm dying and it didn't make any sense because he didn't do what it took to make sense. Spiritual health, psychological health in the stories of Scrooge's ghosts, maybe. Okay, dreams in the Bible, in literature. How about some in science? Great American chemist Fred Kekulé struggled. You love this, right? I don't know how they do this either, so don't worry. But he's struggling with this chemical structure of benzene. And they've always pictured carbon molecules as a chain, carbon, 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 okay? And if you do that, the chemical comes out with far too many hydrogens. Something's totally disproportionate if that is the structure. So Kekulé has a dream. Would you believe me? A dream. And the dream is he sees a snake curling up and devouring itself by its tail. And he gets this insight, oh, what if we wrap the carbon chain into a circle, a ring compound? It will have the right number of other chemical parts, the hydrogens. Well, a dream gave Kekulé a Nobel Prize. I missed out on those dreams somewhere, I think. In 1861, a Nobel Prize for getting the structure of benzene, which, if that's not interesting to you, it is the chemical basis for many medicines, including cortisone, including prednisone. We know some of those, okay? So here's a dream a chemist had that is synthesizing, bringing stuff together. It's in his brain down there somewhere. He just couldn't get, and the dream says, hey, maybe, huh? And so the dream brings together stuff he already has in his brain. Dreams can be informative, can be significant, can help us out in real life, can help us put our life together. Okay, some of the things we won't be doing with dreams, we're not going to do magic, we're not going to do fortune telling, unless you pay me, then I'll make something up. Okay, and we're not prophesying the future, except we're hoping we get something out of these talks. We're thinking about dreams giving us personal insights about our own self, hardly ever about someone else. That dream was by me, for me, and it's about me. And that's one of the big clues in dream interpretation. Now, if you don't believe all the historic stuff about dreams, I can give you some real significant evidence. Calvin here is one of the great cartoons. I wish Watterson was still doing them. Okay, so Calvin's got a dream, and he's walking around, and here's water dripping. Sorry, I couldn't make it blue. Then he goes down to the curb, and here's water running. And then he goes near a stream, and here's water running. Goofy, nonsense stream has no meaning, right? Dream gets even worse. Now he sees waterfalls. This is not Father Steve's waterfall, incidentally. We'll handle that differently. Oh my gosh, now what? What do you do with this? Okay, Calvin wakes up and he knows what to do with this. He heads for the bathroom. Okay, psychology works by asking people what's happening. How many have had a dream where you needed to go to the bathroom? Okay, better statistics than the other question. How do you know that? Did you wake up consciously, check the clock, and say, oop, and do a bladder volume measurement? No, you wake up and say, oh my gosh, the subconscious woke us up before worse things happened. Okay. Any questions so far? Ideas to share? You're welcome to say this is all bull. A few of my students have, I think some of my kids have said that to me. Anyway, yes? Oh, that would help, Father. We need technical help here.
Sometimes people say they have a vision. How do you relate that to a dream? Is there a difference?
People have visions. How do we relate it to a dream? Okay, I'm limiting myself to the science side of the story, and visions is pretty close to squeaking over to the religious side. But between a dream and a vision, there is a waking dream or a waking insight. I'm walking along, especially if I'm not thinking about anything in particular, though yesterday and the day before I've been working on this problem and I got this difficulty, and I'm walking along and it's beautiful, I'm not thinking of anything, and bingo, something comes to mind. Okay, that's a waking dream or insight. A vision is something I think I'm going to leave alone, but there's the guy to ask. Get him in trouble. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I've heard that when you look at your dream, that it's good to look at yourself as each of the people in the dream. Is that correct?
She read that when you look at a dream, you're supposed to look at each of the people in the dream or animals in the dream as though it's part of yourself. That's one of the huge breakthroughs Jung did, and we'll show you that. Got to look at it as part of yourself. I'll tell you a dream where a friend is driving the car, it looks like my friend, but at any rate, at the end of it, it turns out it's a characteristic of me, part of me, okay? Thank you. Yeah, I am enjoying sitting down so much. Whoopee. Anything else before we go on? The rule is if you don't have questions, the professor keeps talking. You've been warned. Okay. What do we got? Okay, so we want to understand our psyche. The word psychology comes from the Greek, two parts. One part is psyche, which translates as mind or soul. And psychologists choose mind to stay away from that religious stuff, and more religious psychologists think more in terms of a soul. I think Jung did. So psyche means mind or soul, and logos means logic or thinking about. Psychology is thinking about the mind or soul. Bios in Greek stands for life. Biology is thinking about studying life, right? Geology, geos is the earth, geology studies the earth. And theology, theos is God, and theology studies ideas about God. Huge breakthrough in psychology by Freud and by Jung is that we have a subconscious mind. We're living in our conscious mind. You can say what you're thinking. You can say what you think about other things. You can say what you see. But underneath, you ever have this experience where something happens and you way overreact? Or, wow, is that great? That comes from the subconscious. Something in there with what's happening here connects to something down here that's got more energy for us. Okay, so they claim and give us lots of evidence the subconscious mind exists, and in fact, 90% of who we are in the subconscious mind, like an iceberg. So what is the subconscious mind? It's our set of beliefs. We don't bring out our Catholic beliefs when we make change, at the grocery store, but they're in there. And somehow under they say, I better do it right because it's not fair, right? Okay. Our worldview is inside there that we don't think about much. We have an American worldview. It's quite different than a Latin American worldview. And we think with that kind of view. We can do whatever we want. We can be successful. We can pull ourselves up by our boots. That's good American stuff. And in poor countries, I've tried. I can't get ahead. I can't do it. Why should I work too hard? Because, man, it's hopeless. Different, you view the world from one of those or the others. So the worldview is a set of ideas by which we perceive the world. Worldview has a set of ideas by which we cancel out stuff we don't want to consider. A tax hike. Which side are you on? One side says, no, impossible, worldview. The other side, yeah, unnecessary, worldview, right? It's in there. We're set to go with that. Our subconscious has repressed memories in it. Our fears from back when, our damaged self-worth, maybe, our joyful childhood experiences. Wow, that really perks up life when I think of those. They're in there. Then someone says something and we react from maybe one or the other of those. He's out to get me, or, wow, that'd be fun to go and do. Worldview, it's in us. Okay, worldview has the events and emotions from our past that may encourage us to go for more interesting new stuff, or may give us resistance to anything new. Okay, our subconscious has protective reactions. Don't want to hear that. Don't want to watch out. Okay, and habits and values, all hidden down in there. Okay, we'll bring that up as we go. Let's do some real dreams for a bit. And I promise you I won't be doing all dreams from me. I'd be pretty boring. Well, maybe not that boring. Okay, but I did have a great dream once. It's the fall semester, and the fall semester is, it's not, you're approaching Christmas, everybody's happy, and as a professor, you're doing grading papers. Oh, geez. And at any rate, this kid didn't know English, this kid didn't read the assignment, this kid hasn't been in class but put down anything. This kid had a great paper, you reread that one, it's good. Okay, so you're really busy and you're getting all your grades together, and in my case, I never knew it was Christmas season till 5 o'clock Christmas Eve, after I turned in my grades finally. Okay. It turns out at the end of that semester, a week or two before Christmas, I discovered I had lost 5 folders of laboratory information, how to make the lab go. And I had no clue where they are. Lecture notes you can make up in a few hours, a few days. Laboratory experiments, weeks and weeks of work. Semester you work on to get it together, and I lost 5 of them. I was pretty frantic. all the different details of how many microvolts in the experiment, how many drops of that chemical, what surgical equipment should be on the table, what chemical concentration. It's disaster. I mean, it would take so much work. Okay, so 5 to 10 years worth of work is gone. Okay, and I'm stressed more than a little. I checked everywhere. I called colleagues. I walked the campus, different rooms, offices, buildings. I called colleagues I haven't seen in over a year and said, did I by chance stop by your office and leave some notes? You know, I had where else to look? I was really dead-ended. I got my grades in, I think, but yeah. Okay, Christmas morning, 5 a.m. Here's a guy that doesn't get up early. 5 a.m., light bulb goes on, bam, I'm awake. And I see where my notes are, a picture. Nobody's saying follow this route to get to Holy Cross Church, which I made, incidentally, but a picture. And oh my God, I was so happy to get to campus as early, 7:30. It didn't open until 8 o'clock. I was there. Okay, lecture notes. The picture showed me they were in files, cabinets, whatever you call these, in the bookstore. Bookstore had started a new policy. You can't walk around with your folders under your arm while you're in the bookstore because somebody might take something. So you got to put your stuff in these little cubby holes. And boy, I got there at 8:05 and my notes were there. Okay, so I got to ask you, are dreams nonsense? Are they ridiculous? Are they not helpful? Or do sometimes they bring information together? That was in my brain all the while. It just wasn't in my conscious part of the brain. Okay, so dreams can be informative. Okay. Did I just flip it? Yeah, sorry. Oh, this is a sensitive contraption. Okay. Oh, he talks too much. Okay, another dream I had was very vivid. I'm riding in a car with a person clearly identified as one of my colleagues. Okay? I call him RD. He's driving the car. Symbols that are significant. We're in a car. We're moving on. I'm not in control because I'm the passenger, the I in the dream. But this other guy is in control. But as pointed out, we'll later find out that other guy might be part of me. Okay? And so we decide to pull into a parking lot, and it's on a slope. And this other guy, the emergency brake isn't working, so the other guy jumps out of the car, to my horror, gets in front of the car, and starts to try to stop this monster car, big oldie, by hand. And there's a wall behind him. And I am in the passenger seat, totally alarmed. Not good, okay. Very important who's driving, very important what's the feeling of the I in the dream. Very important who's in control or trying to be in control. So the guy who is driving jumps out, tries to stop the car by hand, and is very badly injured. My dream goes on. I'm visiting him in a room. He's in a bed dying, surrounded by people. I can't even see him. Okay? So what's the dream telling us? Well, while I'm standing with these people around in the dream, appears a very nice lady, one of you maybe, and gives me her hand and says, "Follow me." And we leave this tragic scene, go outdoors to what I love, a nice European village, cobblestones, old buildings. I am relaxing, I'm enjoying, I'm thrilled, and I got good company. I don't know who that is, but it's a guide. In dream psychology, a spirit guide. Often a female for a male, for a guy's dream, often a male for a woman's dreams. Okay, so walking through the European village, cobblestone, I'm at peace and feel like letting go and letting God. This is great. So what's the moral of the story? If you're literal, don't ride with this guy. Okay, avoid parking lots with brick walls next to them, right? Take a European vacation, best of all. Literal interpretations. Okay, principles of dream interpretation is different characters in the dream are usually part of oneself. So who's the driver? Got to talk with my good and very intelligent wife, Mary, and she says, what if that's part of you? That's one of the hardest things for me in dream interpretation, is saying, that could be part of me. So now here's this guy who's very definitive, you don't change his mind, he sets to go, and oh my God, can that be part of me? And then Mary reminds me all the time, she's telling me, don't you think you ought to take a break? You've been working at this dream talk for hours and hours. Shouldn't you get away? And then she says, remember your college days where I got 5, maybe a big night, 6 hours of sleep? I was kind of zombified. And that's the advice. So what's that advice? Driver guy, the strong-willed guy, and it's part of me. It's the guy driving me. And what's dying in the bed? Part of me if I don't watch out. Certainly part of my life with my family if I don't take the hints, the clues in a dream like this. My wife kidnapped me and took me to Peninsula State Park. That solved a lot. That was good. Okay. I gave you 2 dreams. One, not the most meaningful, I found my lecture notes, but it does prove dreams can give us information we're not consciously aware of. The second was much more meaningful. Our subconscious has loads of information about that guy who was working too hard, puts that information, subconscious, into a story that comes up to our consciousness, alerts us, and even provides a nice guide to help us along to heal and to grow, we think, spiritually. Okay, dreams are heavily symbolic. Symbols are the meaning behind a statue, an icon, the meaning behind a material object. Symbols give us a bigger picture than just the object. Symbols bring concepts together, unify the concepts. So symbols can bring human meaning, wisdom, moral principles to mind, up from deep inside us. Reminded of Father Steve's sermon after Peter was fishing and Jesus says, take your nets out further and fish it some more. And Father Steve's sermon was, drop those nets deeper into ourselves and find honesty and find compassion and find those Christian things. So symbols do that. Humans are the only symbolic animal. We should honor that. And symbols are destroyed by being too literal. We'll show you some examples. Symbols are destroyed by analysis. Oh, that's just a couple of pieces of wood. And it's a cross, right? Symbols are destroyed by practicality, materialism, and cost benefit, as we'll see. So, you're sitting there, not doing much, but you're smiling and you don't have a mask on. That's good. Okay, I'm going to give you a pop quiz. I hated those, but here's a pop quiz. and we're looking for meaning. Okay? So here we go. What's the meaning of our objects here? I'm not going to give you much time because they didn't give me much time, all right? So what's the meaning? Well, straight lines, hodgepodge, okay? The meaning is not much. I've had students go on for 10 minutes trying to figure out what this means. It's really not much there, except we can see it. That's the lowest level of something, okay? Okay, I'm going to use the same lines again and ask you what's the meaning of. Well, same lines, right? Something more is in there, something more meaningful, a little increase in meaning. I figured the students came up with, well, there's an intellectual level. You can do algebra on it, trigonometry. How many of you liked algebra? Geometry? Oh, you stinker. Okay, you can do something intellectual with it. You can also do something aesthetic related to beauty with it. So you can make designs, right? Not high-level art, but interesting designs animals don't make, right? So our level of meaning here, have I got you flabbergasted enough? Is perception, we can see it. It's analysis, we can take apart rectangles and triangles. And it's artistry, levels of meaning, human meaning, okay? I was thinking about this talk years ago and asked my lovely granddaughter, who's a pretty good artist, I said, can you do me a drawing with triangles and rectangles for me? A pretty drawing. She disappeared. I thought, okay, that goes the way of many good ideas. An hour later, she shows up and gives me this. Whoa, human meaning, right? Not great art, but human meaning. Okay. What's the level of meaning? We're humans. We're asking, do symbols have any meaning? And so let's use the same lines and rectangles and triangles. And what's the level of meaning? Have we gone up a step or two? Suddenly, this is a symbol. Whoa, this ain't just trigonometry, right? Okay, it represents so much behind that symbol. Star of David, a great, enduring, historic people who brought us one God. And that God is a God of justice and mercy and forgiveness, the Jewish God given to us, and a God over and over in the Old Testament. I love the phrase, a God of steadfast love. Isn't that a scrumptious phrase? And the God is personal. Not one of these up on the hill, not one of these you know, do fires on the altar for, but one who is with his people for over 2,000 years. That's quite a lot of meaning in two triangles put together, don't you think? Humans are the only symbolic animal, the only ones who could know this. And the sum total of Old Testament, some scripture scholars tell us, is care for widows and orphans and strangers, symbolized by the Star of David. And the prophet Micah says, God tells Micah, I'm really a little tired of your religious actions and rituals. What I require of you is to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. All in the symbol. Okay, and the other symbol is of Christianity, of course. Love God, love your neighbor with your whole heart, your whole mind, and your whole soul. Love them as yourself. Wow, all in that symbol. The Good Samaritan story is fascinating. Again, Father Steve brought that up a sermon or two ago, a homily, I should say. Somebody's injured in Schmeekley Park. And a doctor walks by and says, nah, this is too much. And a lawyer goes by and a businessman goes by and says, this is complicated. I got business to do. Clergyman goes by and says, no, too much trouble. And then a black person from Milwaukee comes by and says, oh my God, I got to help this person. You ever heard that story before? Well, that's the Good Samaritan story. In a modern context, the beauty of stories is that you can put it into a modern context. And the strong part of the story is a Jew is telling this story, Jesus. He's telling it to a bunch of Jews, and who's the person who's the most compassionate? The Samaritan, who is the person the Jews hated. Wrong race, wrong religion. Look who stopped to help. Okay, not quite lines and triangles. One of my absolutely favorite paintings, got to see it in the Sistine Chapel, God creating Adam. And what I get out of this, can you see this on the wall? Can you? Okay. Two very significant things in here from the psychology point of view. One is God and Adam's eyes are looking right at each other. Has he or she ever said to you, look at me when I talk to you. I want you to be connected. So this is eye-to-eye contact. Psychology didn't find out the significance of this till maybe the 1950s or 60s. Mother and baby, eye-to-eye contact. The other significant thing is the touch of the finger of God. So what I see in this, my field is human biology, well, I taught in that. The biology of Adam is all there, the muscle structure, the tendons, the proportions of arms and legs, okay, the ears, everything's done fantastically as Michelangelo could do. But my take on this is Michelangelo's not human. He's an animal, highest species around, Homo sapiens, until the inspiriting. Until the inspiriting. You can take this fantastic amount of meaning and you can destroy it by analyzing. You know, physicists will come in and say, what are the angles of the light in here? What am I missing when I ask that? Chemist comes in, chips the paint, says, what kind of paints are being used? What am I missing with the analysis? We can put a dollar value on this. What am I missing with the analysis of the whole symbolic meaning here? To me, this inspiriting is such a powerful and meaningful gift to us as humans that we should go great strides to respect it. In that inspiriting is our gifts, our gifts. In that inspiriting is our conscience, our hopes and aspirations to be a better human. So I'm going to read to you from the Wisconsin bishops on conscience. And they say the church teaches the sanctity of conscience. They say a man, I say a woman or a man, is bound to follow his or her conscience, is bound to follow his or her conscience in order that she or he may come closer to God. The church or any other organization should not force a person to act contrary to their conscience. The church or any other organization. A well-formed conscience stands not solely on church authority, but get this, also upon the law of God written inside our hearts and conscience. We are gifted adult Christians, not children. That's so powerful. I'm thinking that statement would apply to many areas of Catholic life, family life, marital life. The gift of our conscience to make up well-informed and honest choices. And have a quote that affected me since I've heard it 30, 40 years ago from our auxiliary bishop, Bob Morneau. I kind of snuck in on his apartment. I was on retreat at the Norbertine Abbey, and he had a little apartment in the corner, and he made the mistake of leaving his door ajar. And I thought, geez, students come in on professors all the time and say, "Are you busy?" I finally got to saying, "Yeah, I'm busy, but come on in." So I knock on the door, and "Are you busy?" And so we chatted for a while, and he left me with the statement, "Never stray far from your giftedness." That finger of God gifted us with talents that are unique to us, and we are commissioned to use them. And if we wonder where in the world we should be going, a question might be, where does my giftedness lead me? Right now, my giftedness leads me to see that we've got only 10 minutes left. Would we have some more questions? Any questions? I don't see anybody getting tar and feathers, so we did.
So this is all wonderful for people who remember their dreams, but what about those of us who don't remember our dreams?
Oh, I've got that in the next lecture.
Oh, good, I'll come back.
Those who cannot remember, there's some insights to that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give you one of the most important ones, is you've got to think dreams can be important. If you don't think they're important, why bother, and you'll never remember them. So that's step one. We've got 4 or 5 other steps. Other things?
Other questions? Julie.
I just want to know, when you were looking for your folders, did you stop to think to pray to St. Anthony first?
Did I do St. Anthony's prayer? Is that what you said?
Well, yes. I find he works very well for me very quickly.
I don't know the formal prayer, but I talked to the guy. I says, I am in real trouble and I could use your help. Yeah.
I don't know a formal prayer either, but I just ask.
Yeah,
and he answers.
Anthony comes through sometimes. I lost my wedding ring, okay? This is traumatic and lifelong memory. Working the garden in the fall, gloves on, it's cold, gloves on, gloves off, gloves on, gloves off, moving piles of straw, pulling the dead flowers out, making piles. The worst part, moving them to the front yard, and I look and I got no wedding ring. You know, the cold shrinks your fingers and it slips off, otherwise it wouldn't. And I think, oh my God. Well, St. Anthony did not come through very fast. But the next spring, I'm sweeping the back patio with the leftover fuzzy stuffs from the straw, and I see this little circle. I said, oh, excuse my theology, oh my God! It was my wedding ring. What a thrill. What a thrill. Somebody else?
Other questions for Rick?
I got 10 minutes if there are no questions. The rule is, if you don't ask, professor talks. I got one more dream? Okay. I got a lot more dreams. Okay. And I'll do, let's see, here we go. Okay. This was given to me by an 80-year-old lady after a talk like this. Class leaves and she comes to me at the door and says, what does this mean? I've had this a number of times. Significance, right? Once, a number of times can be Okay, she dreamed she was walking along a stream with flowing water. What are the symbols? Flowing water is a symbol of life moving on. Some say a symbol of the Holy Spirit, but it depends on the dreamer. What did it mean to her? Okay, and as she's walking along, her husband is sitting there setting up the fish. But he's unfortunately been deceased for many years. In the dream, there he is setting up the fish. She's walking along the moving stream and she's anxious. What's on her mind in the dream is that she has spent $10,000 on a trip. She's 80 years old, okay? Well, maybe she can do it in 10 more years. I don't know. That was supposed to be a little funny. Okay, and she's very worried in her dream, anxious, worry that she might go broke. She talks to her husband who says that it's okay, she can afford it. And hubby adds, dead hubby back there, but appearing as a guide person in her dream, the guide in her person that's inside her that knows something in the form, the symbol of her hubby. And her hubby says, you're worth it. Wow. In real life, she was 80 years old, a widow of many years, had actually spent $8,000 on Elder Hostel, which is now Rhodes Scholar. Great programs, great, for a cruise. And she's about to spend $2,000 more, and she's worried she might overspend. Her financial consultant says she's okay. She can afford that. We had a workshop or two when we approached retirement, and the financial guy says, one of the hardest things with older people is to convince them it's time they can spend their money. They've been saving for all these years, now they can spend some of it. At any rate, she still was anxious that it was so much money, and it was just a trip for me. She says, am I worth it? That's she's saying to me in waking life. Okay, am I worth it? Am I being frivolous? And then she asked, did her hubby come back from the dead? Okay. Here are symbols in the dream: flowing water, life moving on is a common one on that. Okay? She's walking along the stream. Walking along is common for life moving on. Okay? May symbolize directing her own life. We're moving. Somebody's got to take direction here. And I don't have someone to lean on anymore. I've got to become in control. 80-year-old lady. Her husband is in the dream sort of a spirit guide who affirms her, really coming out of her own subconscious. She knows it's there, just worried, you know. And she's discovering, with the help of that spirit guide, her own inner strength, her own intelligence. She can now tell herself, that's what the spirit guide is. It's okay. It's okay for me, she can tell herself. And she can trust her own decision making. Isn't that quite an affirming, amazing dream? Okay? Okay, so I leave you with that one. May you have good, affirming dreams. Yeah. None of Marley's ghosts.
Yeah, let's thank Dr. Stephen. Thank you so much. So Rick will be with us next Wednesday evening from 6:30 to 8 as well. For all of you in the same boat as me who don't remember their dreams, let's come back and figure it out together. You are welcome to stay and visit with Rick out in the gathering space, or stay in this space and contemplate everything that we've heard this evening as we spend time in adoration with Jesus. So just to welcome you to stay for either of those things. Okay. And let's just thank Dr. Stevens one more time for being with us.
And to just reaffirm you of the value of the power of subconscious. I needed a note to remind myself when to stop. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Got some good dreams.